I think it's a splendid result because it tells the government it needs to change course. The old course was unviable, and we can talk about that. Of course, markets seem to be disappointed. We can talk about that also, why markets are reacting negatively. But I think what is happening today is really, in the long run, really good for India because it forces India to choose a different course from the one it has been on, a course which has led to much wider unemployment and distress than needed in the country.
Is this an election result that you see will bring the technocratic and elite South together with a more emotional and historic North? Does it bring the polarity of India together, or do we have a more separate India in 2026?
No, it's actually a win for democracy, and that's good for India because what democracy does is it allows the different paths to essentially express themselves and to negotiate. The problem earlier was India was trending towards a more autocratic country, a country with one leader who had a larger than life image. And that unfortunately meant that the BJP leadership wasn't listening to the economic news on the ground that people were actually suffering hardship, wasn't listening to the broader sense that the weaponization of various instruments of the government to put opposition party leaders in jail was simply not gelling. And it would have taken India down a course which was ruinous in the longer run, maybe in the short run beneficial to the big business groups. And that's why the market is reacting adversely. But I think this is good.
You have mentioned the concept of an authoritarian democracy and how India is moving into that sort of bucket. Talk to us a little bit about what this election means for India and what it means for Narendra Modi and some of his policies on labor and whatnot.
So I think the key number to look at in this election is the BJP's own seats in parliament. They almost surely will fall short of a majority, which means that they have to actually take the support of other parties, convince them to stay on board, which means they have to be much more sensitive to a broad-based set of policies. Now, the BJP has done some very good things during its stint in power. For example, it has improved the investment in infrastructure. And you can see roads, airports, highways becoming much better in India. That's good. However, what it has not articulated is a sensible policy for broad-based employment. And that almost surely requires policies on human capital, how to skill up the workforce, how to bring industry together with universities and so on to get people jobs. So the frustration with the BJP has been mass unemployment, which is, in an authoritarian regime, they simply don't even acknowledge the fact that unemployment has been growing and is especially amongst the youth. So what this election has done is essentially given them a cold shower of reality, that people are not happy with your policies. And that will force, if the BJP does come back to power after negotiating with allies, it will force policies which are broader, more inclusive, and more sensitive to the needs of the people. That's a good thing.